This is the second video, a continuation of the first one on the chapter The Tiger King. We come to the second part of the story. Crown Prince Jung Bahadur grew taller and stronger day by day. Now, when he was born, he was a very small child. Now, as time passed, as days changed to weeks, weeks to months, and months to years, the child grew up to be very tall and strong. No other miracle marked his childhood days, apart from the event already described. So, whatever has been told to you during his birth, that was the only incident that happened, and nothing extraordinary happened during his growing age. The boy drank the milk of an English cow. English cow here means a very good breed. Was brought up by an English nanny. Nanny is a caretaker appointed by generally the very elite or the rich class or the royal families, and especially because the story is set up in the pre-independent days when the Britishers were here and there were many royal families all over India where they had very small kingdoms. And since the royal families were very rich, they appointed English nannies. Nannies are the ladies appointed to take care of the child, not only health-wise, but also his upbringing, his mannerism, his talking. All this was done in English. Tutored in English by an Englishman. A teacher was appointed to teach him at home. During those days, most of the families of the royal families appointed Englishmen as teachers for their growing princes. Saw nothing but English films. So the whole atmosphere in which he was brought up was English. Exactly as the crown prince of all other Indian states did. So all other Indian states also followed the same pattern of bringing up their child. When he came of age at 20, the state which had been with the court of wards. Court of wards means people appointed when the real ruler is a minor or is underage and is not mature enough to sit on the throne. So these court of wards used to take care of the kingdom when this little prince was a child. Now he had grown up to the age of 20. Until then came into his hands. Now the prince became the king. But everyone in the kingdom remembered the astrologers' predictions. Everyone in the kingdom remembered the astrologers' prediction. I hope you remember the prediction of the astrologer was that since the prince was born in the star of the bull, and the tiger and the bull are enemies, and death was going to come through the tiger for the king. Many continued to discuss the matter. Slowly it came to the Maharaja's ears, and everybody was discussing it among themselves, and the Maharaja came to know about it. There were innumerable means many in number, forest in Pratibandhapuram state. They had tigers in them. The Maharaja knew the old saying, you may kill even a cow in self-defense. You may even kill a cow in self-defense. In India, killing a cow is a very grievous sin for which you have to do a lot of penance. But the king says, if even you kill a cow in self-defense means in order to save your own life. So if you attack someone in order to save your own self and you kill someone, that act is called an act in self-defense. there could certainly be no objections to killing tigers in self-defense. And since killing a cow would be of no importance in self-defense, so killing a tiger also would be equally good. The Maharaja started out on a tiger hunt. The Maharaja was thrilled beyond measure. Thrilled means greatly excited. Beyond measures means greatly, and thrilled means excited, when he killed his first tiger. So the very first killing of the tiger filled him with a lot of excitement. He sent for the state astrologer and showed him the dead beast. So in great pride he called the astrologer and said, "Yeah, see, you told me my life was endangered by this creature. I have killed him here, he's lying dead. What do you say now?" he demanded. So he asked the astrologer, "What do you say now? Your Majesty may kill 99 tigers in exactly the same manner." But the astrologer growled. So he says, the astrologer, when he saw the dead tiger, he told the king, "You can kill 99 tigers in the similar manner. It hardly matters." But, and then he drawled. Drawled means he hesitated to speak. Words were not coming out. Why? Because again he was going to tell the king that you have to be aware of the 100th tiger. But what? Speak without fear. The king told him, "You speak without fear. Why are you hesitating? But you must be very careful with the 100th tiger." What of the 100th tiger were also killed? And then the king says, "Supposing I kill the 100th tiger also, then what would you do?" "Then I will tear up all my books on astrology, set fire to them, and I shall cut off my toff." Toff is the hair that the Panditji keeps as a chutiya. That is called the toff. This is, you can say, a religious symbol of the holiness of the Pandit. And he says, "I will tear up all my books on astrology if my predictions are proved false. And I will cut off my toff, crop my hair short, and become an insurance agent." He, in other words, says कि मैं अपनी पंडिताई छोड़ दूंगा, भविष्यवाणियां करना छोड़ दूंगा if I am proved wrong. The astrologer finished on an incoherent note. Incoherent note means where he was talking nonsense which was not connected with the story. From that day onwards, it was celebration time for all the tigers inhabiting Pratibandhapuram. Celebration time. Celebration means enjoying with feast. Feast means where there is a lot of nice, delicious food to eat, like we celebrate a festival. So he's saying this was the time of celebration for the tigers. The reason of the celebration will come to know as we proceed in the lesson. The state banned tiger hunting by everyone except the Maharaja. So tiger hunting was completely banned for everyone. Only the king had the right to shoot or kill a tiger. Nobody had this right. So this ban was declared. A proclamation. Proclamation means a public announcement of the royal order was made. You must have seen in movies, especially in the medieval period, when the kings used to rule, a drum beater used to come street to street and declare the order or the command given by the king. So, proclamation means a public declaration was made. A proclamation was issued to the effect that if anyone dared to fling as much as a stone at the tiger, all his wealth and property would be confiscated. Confiscated means the possession of your property is taken over by the authorities or the government as a punishment for a wrongdoing. Now, when the proclamation or the public declaration was made, and in that it was very clearly stated that if even anyone dared means took the risk of throwing a stone at the tiger, all his property, all his wealth will be taken away by the state. This is what is meant by confiscated. The Maharaja vowed he would attend to all other matters only after killing the 100 tigers. And the Maharaja declared to all his ministers that I will not attend to any kind of work in the royal court until and unless I achieve the target of killing 100 tigers. Initially, the tiger seemed well set to realize Initially, the king seemed well set to realize his ambition. Well set means very much determined and resolute in achieving his ambition, and his ambition was to kill 100 tigers. Not that he faced no danger. There were times when the bullet missed its mark. The tiger leapt upon him and he fought the beast with his bare hands. Bare hands means where you are not holding any kind of weapons to defend yourself. Khali haath jisko bolte hain. So, it was not that he did not face any kind of dangers. There were incidents while killing a tiger, the bullet missed its mark and the tiger came upon the king, and the king had to fight the tiger with his bare hands. Each time it was the Maharaja who won, and each time it was the Maharaja who won, came out victorious. At other times he was in danger of losing his throne, and there were other dangers also, and this danger was losing his throne. Losing his throne means losing his kingdom, losing his kingship. And where did this threat come from? Let's read on. A high-ranking British officer visited Pratibandapuram. He was very fond of hunting tigers and fonder of being photographed with the tiger he had shot. So the Britishers were very interested in hunting tigers, and one of the British officers came to his kingdom demanding that he needs to shoot a tiger. He not only was interested in killing the tiger, he was more interested in getting himself photographed along with the killed tiger. As usual, he wished to hunt tigers in Pratibandapuram, and he made this request to the king that he wanted to hunt tigers in his kingdom. But the Maharaja was firm in his resolve. Firm means very strict, was not going to go back on whatever he had decided. And what did he decide? Only he himself had the right to kill tigers and no one else. So he stuck to this and did not give the permission to the Britisher to hunt tigers. And this is what put his kingdom, his throne, his kingship at risk. He refused permission. I can organize any other hunt. You may go on a boar hunt. You may conduct a mouse hunt. We are ready for a mosquito hunt. But tiger hunt, that's impossible. This is the humor, you see. You can go on a boar hunt. Boar is a wild pig. You can go on a mouse hunt. You can go rat hunting. You can go mosquito hunting. This is just humor, making fun, laughable things. But tiger hunt, that's impossible. The British officer's secretary sent words to the Maharaja through the Diwan. Diwan was the minister in the court of the Maharaja, that the Durai is a South Indian word to address a Britisher. And the secretary brought in the words of the British high official through the Diwan to the king and told him, what was it? He said the Durai himself did not have to kill the tiger. The Maharaja could do the actual killing. What was important to the Durai was a photograph of himself holding the gun and standing over the tiger's carcass. Carcass is the dead body of the animal. So the British officer tried a second time. He said, okay, the Maharaja could do the actual killing. He only wanted to stand with a gun over the dead body of the animal, that is the carcass, and get himself photographed. But the Maharaja would not agree even to this proposal. When this proposal was put forward by the British officer through his secretary to the Maharaja, that was also not agreed upon. He was not given. If he relented now, relented means to go back on your words. So he's saying if he relented now, what would he do if other British officers turned up for the tiger's hunt? So he says if he gave this one British official the permission to shoot tigers, there would be others coming in the similar manner. Then how would he be able to stop them? So that is why he did not agree upon it. Because he prevented a British officer from fulfilling his desire, the Maharaja stood in danger of losing his kingdom himself. In those days, pre-independent days, many kingdoms were taken over by the British on some pretext or the other. And same way, this king also stood the chance of losing his kingdom because he did not allow the high British official to kill tigers in his kingdom. The Maharaja and the Diwan held deliberations over the issue. Now this was the danger that was threatening them, that he would lose his kingdom. So the Diwan, the minister and the king, sat and discussed over this issue. Deliberation means to sit and talk and discuss and to come to a conclusion. What should they do in such a situation? As a result, a telegram was dispatched. Dispatched means sent. Forthwith. Forthwith means immediately, to a famous British company of jewelers in Calcutta. We are living in a wireless age. During those days, everything was sent through wires. The telegram was a coded message which was sent through wires. Of course, we are living in a very technologically advanced age. We are living in the wireless age. During those days, this facility which we are enjoying now was not available. So a telegram, a coded message was sent to a very famous British company of jewelers in Calcutta to send samples of expensive diamond rings of different designs. This was the order placed through the telegram to a British company in Calcutta. Some 50 rings arrived. Immediately, 50 rings, diamond rings, came to the Maharaja. The Maharaja sent the whole lot to the British officer's good lady. This was to pacify the British officer. And in order to pacify the British officer, his wife was made very happy by such expensive gifts. The king and the ministers expected the Durai Sani. Durai Sani is the lady of the British officer. British officer was called Durasai, and Durai Sani was his wife. The king and the minister expected the Durasani to choose 1 or 2 rings and send the rest back. And they hoped that she will pick the best ones, maybe 1, 2 or 3, and send the rest back. But within no time at all, the Durasani sent her reply, "Thank you very much for your gift." In 2 days, a bill for 3 lakhs of rupees came from the British jeweler. During those times, during pre-independent days, rupees 3 lakhs was a huge amount of money, and she kept the whole lot, means the 50 rings, and sent a reply of "Thank you very much for the gift." The Maharaja was happy that though he had lost 3 lakhs of rupees, he had managed to retain his kingdom.